The fall of France in World War II was a moment that shook the world. It's hard to believe that France, with its proud history and robust spirit, faced such an overpowering adversary in Nazi Germany. Picture the vibrant streets of Paris, normally bursting with life and passion, now held in a stifling grip of uncertainty. The rolling hills and serene landscapes of the French countryside, once symbols of peace and tranquility, transformed into battlegrounds overnight. In this video, you'll see the events and decisions that forever changed the course of European history. As Europe stood on the precipice of another great conflict, various events foreshadowed the impending German aggression. The Treaty of Versailles, which had been intended to ensure lasting peace after World War I, had inadvertently sown the seeds of resentment in Germany. Economic hardships, paired with political instability, created fertile ground for the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. Their ambitions were clear: to reclaim lost territories and assert dominance, a roadmap that inevitably put France, among others, directly in their path. To counter potential threats, France had invested heavily in the Maginot Line. Named after André Maginot, the French Minister of War, this line of concrete fortifications, obstacles, and weapon installations stretched along the French-German border. Its primary goal was to deter a direct invasion, forcing the enemy to navigate around it, ideally through Belgium, where the French, in tandem with their allies, would be waiting in a more advantageous position. On paper, the Maginot Line was a formidable barrier, but in practice, it had its critics who believed it was a passive and overly expensive defensive measure. Behind the walls and trenches, however, another factor was silently at play: the lingering shadow of World War I. The Great War had devastated France, both in terms of human lives and infrastructure. Cities had been razed, families torn apart, and an entire generation had witnessed the horrors of trench warfare. The nation was still recovering, and the collective memory of the war was fresh in the minds of the French populace. This trauma impacted not just the general morale, but also influenced military decisions. The French High Command was wary of getting embroiled in another protracted conflict, and therefore leaned heavily on static defensive strategies. While the world watched, the stage was set, and the gears of war began to turn once again. In the tense atmosphere of pre-war Europe, Germany introduced a groundbreaking military strategy that would redefine modern warfare: the Blitzkrieg. Translating to lightning war, this tactic emphasized speed, surprise, and overwhelming force. Traditional warfare had often been a slow, grinding affair, with entrenched positions and extended battles. In contrast, Blitzkrieg aimed to disrupt the enemy's lines and command structures with swift tank invasions supported by infantry and air power. The goal was to encircle and incapacitate opposition forces before they had the chance to mount a cohesive defense. A pivotal moment in the application of this strategy was Germany's decision to advance through the Ardennes forest, a densely wooded region spanning Belgium, Luxembourg, and France. Conventional military wisdom at the time viewed the Ardennes as an unsuitable terrain for a large-scale armored advance. It was believed that the thick forests, narrow roads, and challenging geography would slow down any significant military movement. As such, the French and their allies did not heavily fortify this region, focusing instead on areas they perceived as more likely invasion routes. However, the Germans, in a bold and unexpected move, sent their panzer divisions racing through the Ardennes. This decision was a gamble, but it paid off. The Allies were caught entirely off guard. Expecting the Germans to respect the conventional strategies and limitations of warfare, they were unprepared for the speed and ferocity with which German forces moved. Within days, the German tanks had bypassed many of the formidable French and British positions, putting them in a perilous situation. The Blitzkrieg strategy, combined with the surprise maneuver through the Ardennes, set the stage for a rapid German advance into France. The very fabric of European warfare had changed, and the Allies found themselves racing against time to formulate a response. The German onslaught continued its rapid pace, and soon the iconic city of Paris found itself in the crosshairs. Historically, Paris had been the heart and soul of France, not only in terms of administration, but also culture, art, and spirit. As the German forces drew nearer, their swift approach resembled more of a tightening noose than a traditional siege, effectively encircling the capital and cutting it off from potential reinforcements. With the looming threat, the French leadership was thrown into turmoil. Time was of the essence, and every decision made could alter the nation's future. There were divisions within the government. Some advocated for direct defense, believing that Paris should stand its ground against the invaders, while others were of the opinion that preserving the city's heritage and its inhabitants was of utmost importance, even if it meant not offering resistance. Debates raged, and the weight of history pressed heavily on the shoulders of the decision-makers. In a move that was both unexpected and heart-wrenching for its citizens, Paris was declared an open city. This meant that there would be no resistance against the German forces, and in return, the city would be spared from destruction. The declaration aimed to protect Paris's invaluable historical monuments, artworks, and most importantly, its civilian population from the perils of combat. It was a bitter pill to swallow for many, as the City of Lights, which had stood resilient through many adversities in the past, would now witness the march of German boots without a shot fired in its defense. As German troops entered Paris, they did so without the sounds of battle echoing in the background. The absence of conflict, however, did not diminish the profound impact of the moment. The very soul of France, its beloved capital, was now under German control, marking a somber chapter in its storied history. The German advance had the Allied forces in a precarious position, pressing them northwards towards the English Channel. As the situation grew increasingly dire, one of the most significant evacuations in military history was set into motion near the small coastal town of Dunkirk. With their backs to the sea and the enemy closing in, the situation for the Allied soldiers was bleak. Desperation reigned as thousands of soldiers found themselves trapped on the beaches waiting for a miracle. And in a way, a miracle did transpire. A flotilla of vessels, ranging from naval destroyers to civilian fishing boats, set forth from Britain to rescue the stranded men. The operation was fraught with danger. German planes frequently bombed and strafed the beaches and the waters, making every moment a test of endurance and hope. Yet, against all odds, over 330,000 soldiers were evacuated, a feat that would later be recognized as a turning point, not in terms of a military victory, but in terms of morale and the will to continue the fight. Parallel to the military evacuation, French civilians found themselves forced to leave their homes, towns, and villages. Roads were congested with families carrying whatever belongings they could, seeking safety from the relentless German advance. The mass displacement resulted in heart-wrenching scenes, parents trying to comfort their children, the elderly struggling with the journey, and the constant fear of aerial attacks overhead. The human cost was immeasurable. Amidst the chaos and despair, the English Channel stood as a beacon of hope. For the soldiers, it represented salvation in the form of Britain, a stone's throw away, yet seemingly unreachable. And for the French, the proximity of Britain meant that they weren't entirely alone. Even in the face of overwhelming darkness, the shimmering waters of the Channel whispered the possibility of hope, resistance, and a chance to reclaim their homeland. As the days darkened and German control solidified over significant parts of France, the nation faced a deeply challenging choice. With their defences unravelling and the continued well-being of their citizens at the forefront of their concerns, French leaders confronted the idea of an armistice. It was not a choice made lightly. For a country with such a storied past and fierce national pride, the thought of signing a truce with the invaders was fraught with emotion and debate. The decision culminated in the signing at Rethonde, in the very same railway carriage where the Germans had signed the armistice ending World War I. In a bitter twist of irony, this act symbolized a reversal of fortunes and marked the official fall of France. The armistice terms were severe, with Germany occupying around 3/5 of the country and exercising direct control over key areas, while a puppet regime was established in Vichy, in the southern part of France. The following years under German occupation transformed daily life in France. Curfews were imposed, censorship became the norm, and resources were scarce. French civilians had to navigate a new reality, one punctuated by the presence of German soldiers on their streets, the rationing of food, and the continuous threat of reprisals for any form of resistance. Furthermore, collaboration and resistance became two sides of the same coin, with some choosing to work with the Germans for various reasons, while others covertly and sometimes openly opposed the occupation. This period left an indelible mark on France's national psyche. The ramifications of the occupation, both during the war and post-liberation, were vast. Collaborators faced justice or public scorn, while stories of resistance became sources of national pride. The occupation's legacy, intertwined with memories of hardship, bravery, betrayal, and resilience, would shape France's identity and political landscape for decades to come. The fall and subsequent occupation of France during World War II offer a profound glimpse into the complexities and intricacies of human decisions during times of conflict. As France moved beyond these trying times, it carried both the lessons of its past and a vision for its future. The echoes of this era remain, reminding us of the enduring spirit of nations and individuals when faced with challenges. If you found this exploration engaging, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into history. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest releases. Your continued support allows us to share more narratives from history's pages.